140, 404. 3, 2, 1.
Darling, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Yeah, it's positive thing for High Life, the Shy Life.
You won't find a cast of characters like this everywhere.
Hello, Paul.
Delicious.
This particular episode of the Shy Life is a little more abstract than usual.
Oh, yippee.
Okay, it looks like the hairy guy is ready to record. 3, 2, 1.
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh, I hope he hasn't found out my secret. If he has.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Shy Life podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti. How are you doing? Oh, I'm all right. Yeah. So, what's this episode going to be about? Well, I'm off work this week, and I've been busily editing away, and well, the weather's actually quite nice outside, and I've been outside a couple of times for sort of, well, medical type things like having my second jab and things like that, and it would actually be nice to go out to do something sort of just because, you know, and I was thinking that a nice way to get outside would be to hop on the train and go down to Esher, which is only 12 minutes away, and there's the Sandown Racecourse one side of the railway station, and on the other side there's a common, which although there are people playing golf there, there's also places to sit and to wander, and there are plenty of trees, and I do like a tree, I really do, and well, I thought I'd take the regulars with me. I don't know what it is, but I have a feeling that some of them want a private word, so I think I might do that. I might see if I can catch them and speak to them all as we wander around and we enjoy the sun, because, you know, we are allowed to go out now. We are allowed to mix a bit more. So yeah, let's see how I do. So okay, well, let's run the theme music, and when I come back, we'll get on the train and we'll go out for the afternoon, and I'll do a little bit of detective work, and I'll try and work out why they're all acting rather strangely. Okay, let's run that theme music.
It's time for my old buddy, old pal from across the channel, across the pond, Paul Chandler, the Shy Yeti.
He's not that shy. Oh, it's the Shy Life podcast. Yeah.
All I wanted was a pie.
And then I hatched out of an egg. Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
It's the quiet ones you've got to watch, you know.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep? Is it deep?
Fair play. He's not all that shy, is right.
Blimey, Governor, it's the Shy Life podcast.
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for it to begin.
It's the Shy Life podcast.
He's positively glowing.
Calling out Weybridge, Waterloo Thames,
Hi, listeners.
Pershing, Esher, Surbiton,
sorry.
Wimbledon,
The lady
Earlsfield,
speaking.
Clapham Junction, Vauxhall and London Waterloo. This train has 8 carriages.
Please mind the gap between the
We're just waiting for our train. As usual, everyone is in a complete panic. Yeah, I think I've managed to get everyone here. I think we're all going to get the train. Dear, oh dear.
This is Byfleet and New Hall. This train is for London Waterloo. The next station is Weybridge.
Hi listeners, we're on the train, and yes, we're all here, but as usual, like podcast outings tend to be very spread out. Nobody sits together. Everyone likes to have their own seat away from the other person. Everyone's pretending they don't know one another. You can imagine it, right? Ick has a big floppy hat and a false moustache to disguise him. I thought he could shape change, but apparently that's not the look he's going for today. So yes, we'll be in Esher soon enough, and we'll have we were going to have a picnic lunch, but I think it's more likely to be a flask of orange squash and some ginger biscuits, but there we go. It's better than not going out at all. So anyway, the sun is out, and it's not raining, so I can't really complain. Hello listeners, it's me, Cromitty. We're on the train. It's quite exciting actually. I've not been on a train for such a long time. But yes, I think it would be nice to walk amongst the trees and get a spot of countryside air. Well, it's kind of countryside air. But I know that, we do occasionally nip over to Ick's spaceship or to get Uncle John's magpie hut. But yes, I mean, there's usually some reason for it, and it would be nice just to go for a little bit of fun. Yes, which reminds me, I do need to have a word with Paul at some point. Yes.
Hello, it's me, Martin. Must say the smells of the train and the passing countryside, they are absolutely exquisite. Yes, exquisite. Yes. I do need to have a word with Paul at some point, though.
I hope nobody can tell it's me. I have a disguise on. A big floppy hat and a false moustache. I do need to have a word with Paul at some point, though. Yes, whoops. Here comes the ticket man.
Tickets please. Hello listeners. I'm not really the ticket inspector, I'm just winding them up. I don't think there are any inspectors on these trains. Anyway, yes, I'm just taking notes. It's a long time since we've been out as a gang, and I have a plan, and I think these sorts of details are going to be part of that plan. It's all very exciting. Yes, very exciting indeed. We'll be there soon. Yes. Oh dear. I need to have a word with Paul. Hi listeners, it's me again. I'm on Esher Station. Now, it sounds very quiet, I know, because no trains are going past. And the regulars are on the opposite platform. No, they're not going home already. They have all decided that they wanted stuff. They wanted things from the sweet shop, chocolate bars, coffees, drinks. And I've come prepared. I've bought grapefruit squash. I don't need anything extra. And I'm darned if I'm going over the bridge, all the way over there, just because they're not prepared. So I'm just waiting here. And then we'll go over to the common and hopefully sit by the lake. Yes, I did ask Cromitty for a cup of tea, but he didn't seem to mind. It's been a bit quiet lately. In fact, they've all been a bit sort of... Martin's been sniffing things, but hasn't really been talking about them, and well, anyway. Right, I can see them coming over the bridge now, so I'll speak to you again hopefully, when we're either on the way to the lake or when we're at the lake, the pond. Hi listeners, I've just discovered that I was the stupid one, because although there is an exit which looks like you can get down to the road from the platform I was sitting on, it turns out that no, it doesn't. You have to come under an underpass and then go over to the platform where the others are buying coffees and teas and chocolate and sweets. Oh dear. All these years I've lived in this area and I had no idea. It just looks like the exit must be right down to the road. But no, there's a roofing construction company that prevents you from just, going down to the area I want to go to. I want to take the others to. So, never mind. So, right. Okay. I'll go and meet the others now. Dear, oh dear. I don't know.
Hello, listeners, Cuthbert the Robot here. Whilst Mr. Yeti and the gang head for the pond for their picnic, we're going to share with you a conversation between Paul and Nick. It's another of their chats all about the magazine, Look In. This edition is from 1978. Have a listen, it's never so interesting. Enjoy! Exclamation.
Hello again, listeners. We're back for what can only be described as a fragment of Look In or something. It's a small bit of the show, 10-20 minutes, where we're talking about random editions of the Look In magazine, which we've mentioned before on this show. And I'm going to ask Nick again to pick another edition to tell us about what's on the pages. Nick, what have you got for us?
Hello. I have just done I've just recorded one for 1975. I'm moving forward 3 years to 1978, but this time, because I can't see the front covers as I'm doing it, and I haven't been so sad as to memorise the what's in what issue, I actually am going to do one random this time. So 1976, number 13, and here we go. Now, in most cases, I've got a memory of them. We have the 25th of March, 1978. 78 was an interesting year for me because throughout it, albeit as a game, I was doing my series, The Magnet Editor. So I would have been into the third season, I think, by then. On the front, lavish colour, a bright green, and Stewpot doing the Look In Star Awards. Again, Stewpot, very big figure in Look In, and the one time I met him, the Look In book, which are the best of the 70s, had just come out. I was thrilled to bits because I could remember a lot of it, and I got him to sign it, and he was very interested in the book, and I think he might have went out and bought a copy. The fact he wasn't presented with a copy, I think, is disgraceful. Page 2, Subbuteo, the world's great football game, with table football, which to me was it was just as boring as the real thing. but it was interesting variation, but not that interesting. We've got so Benny is still with us. Indeed, I think he ran for many a year, because Benny ran for many a year. I'd be interested to know when Benny actually stopped. I have a feeling he was still there when I bowed out in 80. But he's a copper this time, and it's still quite fun. I think it wasn't my favourite addition to that, but I still liked it. Stu Potts' news desk still there. There's a bit about Dusty Springfield, who I very much doubt I would have heard of back then. So,
she wasn't having hits in '78. She was. No. She did release albums all the way through the '70s, even if they weren't necessarily UK successes. But in what context are they referring to her?
She appears to have an album.
Well, yeah, she would have done.
So when I first met her, she was ambition to reach this movie for Phillips. The other thing is I like about this, they don't talk down to kids either. No, apparently Dusty had a new album, LP. It Begins Again.
Yes, I've heard of that. I think that
the Mercury label.
Yeah, I think that has a sort of. There's definitely an album from 2 or 3 years later, which is quite sort of disco-y, quite late on. But I think that album is also an attempt to sort of update her formula to a disco formula. But I don't think it was amazingly successful. But at least not in the UK. But
yeah. But they're also obsessed with the idea of doubles and they sent. There's someone they sent to the Muppet Studios to meet Waldorf, one of the complaining old men, and apparently he looks exactly like him. So there's a pen pal thing. I was very surprised I didn't actually go for that because it was the sort of thing that would have interested me. And somebody's made because Star Wars was enormous at the time. Somebody's made their own R2D2, which is actually really quite good. But Stu Potts, the football, Brian Moore's still there, grinning away. And Cyril Regas is our football poster, for all those who like that sort of thing. The $6 Million Man is still with us. I think he on the telly, he was probably into his final season. But... and he was in his final year with Lookin', but it's one I remember very well about a missile station which is buried underground, and I remember being quite taken with that because the idea of an underground base and was something that I was very keen to do, and in fact probably because it also things opening up in the ground, that was very early Magnet Editor. I think I borrowed a lot from that, and I think. The idea of going back into it and it being a base was probably, even though I didn't mention this in the book when I did it, had something. It was something I incorporated very into Return to Twiddler, which would have been around that time. So, but there we go. Wildlife World. There's a bit on Windsor Safari Park. Young Cooks Club, which has this bunny with a cook's hat. I remember him very well. Again, I wasn't very interested in I think Jem might have made a few of those things, but Asterix the Gould has just had a book out. Asterix Goodies. He was very big in the 70s. You don't hear from him. Don't hear from him at all. You don't hear about him at all these days. But he was at the time. He was enormous. I used to
have Asterix figures, but that was in the 80s. Yeah. The Asterix figures were really well made as well. I don't know why all mine have vanished. I would have thought that some would have survived. But,
nobody seems to talk about him at all these days. He had a cartoon and everything.
Yeah, there were definitely some movies, some live action movies as well, much more recently, I think. But I used to read Asterix and I used to read Tintin at the same sort of time, but that would have again been in the 80s.
But, the comic strip, the Tomorrow People at the moment. So Tomorrow People's actually finished. I'm just trying to think. I think it came back briefly when the Chinese girl turned up. They brought the picture strip back, I think, when she did. And but for the time being, we've got Man from Atlantis with Patrick Duffy. Again, beautifully drawn. Mike Noble, I think, was the drawer. And of course, the resident baddie, who was the resident baddie on the telly, was, I forget his name. I've just as I think if they mention his name, Mr. Schubert. That's right. Was played by Victor Bruno, who was a baddie in Batman as King Tut.
Yes.
And died at a ridiculously young age. Yes, I mean he was.
I've seen him in some.
I think he was.
I've seen him in some Wild West episodes as well.
Yeah.
Playing baddies.
He's a very colourful chap, and yeah, he died in his 40s, I think. It was. Yeah, but anyway, yes. Again, I wasn't. I think because Man from Atlantis was on at the same time as Doctor Who, so it didn't really. I don't think I ever saw a single episode of it. I just saw some trailers and things like that. It didn't really grab me, so I don't think I ever really got into it. There's a pop group called Tonight, which I've never heard of. Then you get the awards. Yes, Joanna Lumley won for the New Avengers, which is nice to see. Did the new actually no? Joanna Lumley and her award last week, the New Avenger. I'm not quite sure if it's saying that she won particularly or the New Avengers won. Mike Holloway and English. Oh, I see. That was last. Right. That was last year's they were talking about. So, let me see. It says Doctor Who Shop. That's the BBC. So yeah, it looks like last year they in '77 the New Avengers won an award, and they're quite right too. But yes, that's rather nice. Kevin Keegan won. Stan Borman won Light Entertainment.
At least I've heard of Kevin Keegan.
Yes,
footballer
exactly.
I've heard of. A footballer I've heard of.
I even know what he looks like. So, yes, interesting. Cast your votes here. So the things that were on offer at the time, the top drama programme, were King of the Castle, which of course we know. So it's all very 77 rather than 78, but this is only the beginning of 78. So there's with King of the Castle, a bunch of fives, which I've seen the first one of. Follow Me, which I've heard of but never seen. Raven, which I remember seeing the first two episodes. I've got Raven, but at the time I only saw the first two episodes. Why, I do not know. It would have been just my cup of tea. The Paper Lads, again, sorry.
But wasn't Raven along the same lines as Children of the Stones or something?
Yes, it was written by the same team, which is why I'm surprised I kind of gave up on it after two, because maybe I thought it was going to be scary or something, but anyway, Paper Lads, which was written by Ian Cullen, who was in the Aztecs. Midnight is a Place, which I definitely remember. It's got Simon Gibbs Kent, and it's actually been repeated recently on the Talking Pictures. Just William, which I definitely remember. The Doombolt Chase, which sounds familiar, but I didn't see it. Flockton Flyer, I remember. Ghosts of Motley Hall, I remember. Warrior Queen was one of those things I was aware of but didn't actually see. Top music programme, Get It Together, which I don't know. Fanfare, which I don't know. Mark, which I don't know. And Pop Quest, which I don't know. I feel quite... light entertainment programmes on offer was The Magic Circle, which I think was a puppet... I remember a puppet cat as part of that. I could be mistaken about that. Sooty, Potty Time, Runaround, and Lord Tramp, which had Hugh Lloyd in it. There was general magazine programmes, On Your Marks, which sounds vaguely familiar. Clapperball, Extraordinary, which rings a bell. Gene Machine, which I've never heard of. How, of course, which I know. RTA covered How. Magpie, which I remember. Top family programmes, Benny Hill Show, Celebrity Squares, George and Mildred, Get Some In, Mind Your Language, Muppet Show, The New Avengers, which is an odd one to stick in there because it's the only one that's not a comedy. So, Oh No, It's So in Frogget, Opportunity Knocks, Rising Down, Robin's Nest, and Other. Well, apart from Other, I've heard of them all. So but that was interesting. I eat my words here. The Tomorrow People are still with us. There's a story about some robots, which I remember. Anything to do with robots, I would remember. But yes, I think that was the last story of its kind. The aliens are looking just as tacky as they are on the telly. So. We have grown a new feature with the world of Jerry Anderson, which he talks about some of his shows, and he's got various people, sort of on that, around there. So, and there's a picture strip called Star Cruiser, which was also an influence of the Magnus editor at the time. So, screen quizzes. You've got the Kate Bush. As looks like Peter Sellers. It could be Peter Cook in disguise. Bob Marley, bless him's there. Tomorrow, Bionic Woman, with as well as the Bionic Man, we get beautifully drawn, and she's fighting some Chinese or Japanese kidnappers in a story again I remember quite well. But yeah, they did the series justice, I think. Thin Lizzy is in the pin-ups with the late Phil Lynott there. It's funny to think that he sort of ended his days in Salisbury Infirmary. Again, Doctor on the Go is still there, even though I think Doctor on the Go, I don't think it had existed for some time by then. So, but yeah, about a gorilla that has escaped, as you do. Quick look at the regions. Sun Television had Our Show, which I absolutely loved because it had Susan Tully there, and she was about my age, and I fancied her. So there you go. We got Sale of the Century, Enemy at the Door, which is also being repeated on Talking Pictures at the moment. Clapperball, Warrior Queen, Sharp in Taken Breath, which was an early David Jason comedy. Robin's Nest, Armchair Thriller. Oh, yes, I was enjoying that very much. Streets of San Francisco. Armchair Thriller 8:30, so that was actually quite late for me, but I do remember staying up for it. Little House on the Prairie, The Sullivans, which is an early Australian soap. I think got a feeling that Sullivans were Australian.
Yeah, Sullivans is. It's not one I've ever really followed, although it was relatively new in '77 itself, so they must have been showing it quite almost in tandem over here, although they might have been a year or so behind. But
yes. And finally, you'll be delighted to know that ABBA are on the front cover of the next issue.
Hey.
Which they often were. Looking was very loyal to ABBA.
Yes.
And I do remember there's a pin-up of Darth Vader at the back doing the pointy thing. I know you're with the Rebel Alliance. Yes, I remember that very well. I seem to associate that with a trip, presumably an Easter trip to the Doctor Who exhibition. So I remember taking that in the car, this issue in the car, with me to the Doctor Who exhibition, which was been my first trip for 3 years, which is coincidentally the distance between the two look-ins I've just reviewed. So there we go, from March '78.
Thank you very much. Next we'll dip into some more at a future date. I've got a disc with some very early ones, so we might go back to the very early '70s next time.
That would be nice, actually, yeah, because those are the ones I don't know about.
Yeah.
So,
okie dokie. Well, thanks, Nick, and we'll talk again soon. Bye bye for now.
Bye bye.
Listeners, sitting by the pond now. Yes, it was more of a walk than I expected. Stupidly, the way the train comes in, it brings you out the side of the pond, the right side. But I just hadn't, as I say, I think I just hadn't gone down that exit for a long time, and it wasn't actually an exit onto that street. It was an underpass that took you back up to the other side and directed you to the official exit. I guess they want to steer people towards the ticket gates, but anyway. But we're here now. We may have some bits and pieces over the rest of the episode. I'm not sure, a quiz or clips, or I'm not sure. We'll see when I come to edit the episode. But I do need to chat to all of the regulars, because they've all got things on their mind. I'm going to speak to Yeti Uncle John first, because he's here. So there's not actually enough seats for everyone to sit together. So, as I said before, it's one of those things where we all go out for a day trip and end up sitting in different places, because some of them are sat near the pond side, some of them are sat anyway. Yeti Uncle John, I wanted a word. It's funny, I wanted a word as well. I just wanted to talk to you about this idea of yours to do an autobiography of the Shy Life podcast. Now, are you actually going to do it as an autobiography of the show, or is it an autobiography about you? Oh, well, it's kind of both. I mean, I'm not sure until I start writing. Well, you just have to be careful, Yeti Uncle John. I mean, who am I to tell you, if you're writing an autobiography, then it's really none of my business, except for the years that we've sort of spent a lot of time together because of the podcast, the last 5 years or so. Yes, well, I just wasn't sure what you said during the Chatterbox episode. I wasn't sure whether you were, just doing a book about the podcast. From what you said, you made it sound very much like all of the success of the podcast was down to you and you alone. Well, I might have spoken out of turn, but just that the way I remember things are, is that I was behind it a lot of why you ended up starting the show. Really? I'm not 100% sure how you think that's the case. Well, I mentioned it to you. I said, you ought to do a podcast. I really don't remember you saying that, Yeti Uncle John. I do have podcasting friends. Many of them have been part of the show, but I spoke to Toppy for sure. But I don't remember talking to you that much about it. No, it definitely happened. I suggested the format, suggested that you should talk to lots of different guests, go outside, not keep it to a set length, all these sorts of things. You suggested all that to me. Wow, I really had forgotten. Yes. So, I mean, it's a matter of setting the story straight, I think. And I guess you have to decide whether you're going to be writing about all of your adventures, because the Shy Life podcast, has only taken place over the last 5 years or so. You were never around when we were doing the Sutton Park days, but I know you were having, you've had so many jobs, you've had so many, you must have loads of stories to talk about. I do, Paul. Of course I do, yes. So I guess that's one way to go. But I imagine doing a book just about the Shy Life podcast, and, you've been on a lot of episodes. Of course you have. You haven't been on every episode. But, I'm not really bothered about those episodes. Are just the core episodes. Well, I don't think that's very fair, Yeti Uncle John. There's plenty of episodes you've not been on which have been very important, or very, people have taken a lot of time to contribute to them. So I think if you decide that you're going to do, a book about the podcast, then you need to address it. You need to show what a team effort it has been. Yeah, I don't really like teams. I know you don't, but just think, in which case perhaps you should just do an autobiography, but I don't know whether there's a market for that. I think if I can get it out there, I think there'll be people who would be interested to hear my stories. You do you? I guess so. You probably do have stories. As you say, it's a matter of marketing. Yeah, well, you could talk about it on the show. You could interview me. I could interview you, yes. Obviously want to support what you'd written, but if you say anything, I don't mean to be, it's not me trying to blackmail you, but if you say bad things about any of us or make us look bad, then we're less likely to want to support you. So you really need to decide what the tone of your book will be, supportive, or if it's sort of scandalous. Well, goodness knows what scandal. Well, I don't know about scandal, but there have been a few. Well, yes, there have been a few scandals, what with Damius and Bettina, but I don't think you should be writing about them and digging all that up. Oh, well, that's the fun part. That's the fun part. Yeti Uncle John, just think about what you're doing. Just please don't do anything that's going to upset anyone, will you? No, I promise you I won't. I'm still at the planning stage. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Anyway, I've just got to go and speak to some of the others. So, are you enjoying the picnic? Yeah, it's a bit muggy. Yes, it is a bit muggy, isn't it? But never mind. Still better than being stuck indoors. Yeah, I don't know about that. I could be getting on with my book. You could, but it's good to have a break, I think. Yeah, I guess so. All right, I'll talk to you in a bit. Come on, listeners, let's head over here. Who should we go and speak to? Martin. Let's go and speak to Martin. Martin, how you doing? You enjoying your picnic?
I am, Paul, yes. I am.
You didn't want to come and join me by the bench? You're a bit isolated out over here.
Oh, yeah, but it's nice over here, nice and cool.
You seem to be busy on your phone.
I am, yes. Yeah. There's, I'm doing something.
Oh, doing something. Yes. Oh, did you ask August to come?
I did. Yeah, he's very busy with his painting today.
Oh, I did wonder. I thought he might come, but...
No, he's very busy finishing off.
Oh, right. And what's your project?
I don't know if I...
Hey, Martin, if it's private, don't you have to tell me.
Yeah, no, I don't see why I shouldn't tell you. It's, private yet. It's not completely private.
Okay. So what's going on?
I don't know if you know, but I don't see why you should. But I'm actually adopted.
Okay. No, I don't think I knew that. I think we might have talked about our parents at some point, but...
Well, yeah, I didn't go into it in any depth then, of course, but I've been recently trying to find out who my mother is.
Oh, okay. Have you had any leads?
No, well, not that I can speak about.
Okay, and what about your father?
I do have a bit of detail on him, but it's a bit too soon to say.
Oh, right. Well, it's exciting though. Exciting that you're doing this and that you feel ready to look into it. And do you know if they're still alive?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the way things are. The information I'm getting seems to suggest that they're still alive.
Oh, okay, good. And you don't have any names?
No names, but it would appear that my mum and dad were married, but that my mum well, sort of left my dad, and I ended up in a home, and well, that's very vague, but that's sort of what I've heard.
Oh, okay. I'm sure there's a lot more to it than that.
Yes, Paul. Yes. It's. I'm hoping that I'll find out some more definite information, and maybe some names in the next few weeks or months.
Golly, well, if you want to share with us, please do. I mean, or if you want to share it with me, but you don't want me to record it, then please do. I mean, we don't have to. We don't have to talk about this on a public forum.
Oh, well, I didn't know you were recording, Paul.
Oh, sorry. I don't have to use this bit.
No, Paul, it's fine. It's fine. I don't see why the listeners shouldn't hear about this.
No, of course. Anyway, I better let you continue and enjoy the sunshine and the picnic, and I'm just going to go and talk to Cromitty, I think.
All right, Paul. Thanks for listening.
My pleasure.
Hello, listeners, Cuthbert the Robot here again. Next up we have some chat and quizzes with Paul and Callum recorded on the 13th June 2021. See if you can get any of the right answers before Mr. Yeti gets in there. Not that he gets them all right. Kiki enjoy exclamation.
Thank you for my book and my sweeties. They're all gone now. All the chocolate.
What did you do on your birthday in the end?
So we did.
Did you go
Mum
out?
and I went out. Yeah, we went out for lunch. Because I was umming and ahhing over it. So, obviously you wear a mask sort of in from the door to the seat, and then but it was fine. We went to Wildwood. It's one of those places in Park Street. So, and I thought we'll sit in rather than, because if you're out, you've just got everyone walking past. So you don't know if you got a window or anything. But the we got a table right by the window anyway, so Mum could sort of look out. See people going up and down, whatever. But yeah, that was fine. We had lunch. I had like a chicken sandwich type thing. A chicken steak. Her mum had like risotto, which of course she doesn't really get. So she wolfed that down. Oh my God. So we'll probably go there when, obviously it's not that long for her birthday, about a month's time. So I imagine we'll be Dealey's getting up.
Well, did he come and speak to Callum? I told you. Come on, look. Yes. Come and speak to Callum.
Here he comes.
Beast. I know you're trying to get hot, but...
Oh, looking very close to the camera.
Oh. Callum's here, and you can't hear him.
Has Didi been outside at all?
Very briefly, but it was very hot, then he hurt his paws because it's hot on the concrete. Go on then.
There he goes.
You can't see Callum now.
Oh, I can sense that I'm around.
I was sitting at the table with him the other day, and my laptop was on the screensaver, whatever, the background with Dealey's face on. He was staring at himself. I'm sure he was.
Naughty cat.
I met Harry, but I think that was
the day before I spoke to you last, wasn't it?
Yeah, we spoke about that. That was at the
that was a while ago. I think as well.
cafe in Surbiton, wasn't it?
Yeah, the toilet.
I know he's had his birthday.
Yeah.
Since he's been posting the odd thing I saw.
Yeah, because last weekend I went to have my optician's appointment, and then this weekend I picked them up, and there must have been a gap of a week or so between when I saw Harry and when I went to have my opticians.
Yeah. So when I was out early yesterday, so I normally cut through a bit of the main square, and I couldn't understand why there was like a queue of people, because they were having to queue. The rock box hadn't opened. You know, rock box. Have you seen where it is these days? The rock box in the.
No, I didn't realise
I've seen it all after everything, but it's on the same side as Boots, basically on the and Argos is on that kind of side, but they were instructing people to queue across on the other side. So it looks as if people were queuing for something on the other side of the that bit of the square. So I went and did my Sainsbury shopping, and I thought I'll come back. So I don't understand what people are queuing for. And then that's when I saw the record day thing over the front of the shop, and I suppose they might have started by the time I came out of Sainsbury's. They might have opened by then. Mind you, that's probably before 8:30. There were at least, I'd say, about 50 people queuing. And it said on their site that somebody was queuing before midnight, and people would join the queue at 4 a.m. I think. So I don't know how obscure these records are that are on that. Because I said, when I went in there about 11 or whatever it was, it was just like a normal. Everything had obviously been scavenged. I mean, there was still stuff left, but I don't know what it was. First of all, he thought Belle and Sebastian was there because they hadn't ticked it off, but no, it wasn't in the thing. So.
Is it what size? Because I thought anything in that shopping centre was a bigger size than what they used to have.
So it's only like 1 unit size, so it's not as big as like Argos or Boots.
But is it like a card shop size?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it still feels a bit bigger than what they used to have.
Yeah. That might be the first time I've actually been in it since it moved there.
I wonder if do they have much of that space behind this? Is it like for storage for behind the scenes stuff?
Yeah, you go in and you basically just got vinyl on the left, and you walk forward a bit, and there's a till is in front of you to the right.
I've got a couple of new things. I'm having trouble having the time to play stuff at the moment, so I'm not really buying. I'm not looking for anything. I've got a few things pre-ordered, like I got the new Garbage album and another album.
That was one of the things on the list, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I got the new Crowded House album. But I've got plenty from when I was buying. I did buy an old Jack Jones album, which was Jack Jones Sings Bread. My mum claimed that she had it, but I thought I would have.
Not the theme from Bread. Ooh, gotta get up, gotta get up.
It's band Bread. I thought it was sanctioned by the band. So. And I mentioned to my mum, she was like, "It's a wonderful album." Out of print deal. It's never been on CD, so it can't be that well regarded. Are you still having quizzes, or is not because we're outside?
I can do. I've brought everything in my little bag. Are you ready? 1980s. Which British singer had her only top 10 hit with "Stop" in 1989?
Sam Brown.
In 1999, Britney Spears went to number 1 with what became the fastest selling debut single ever in Britain? What was the song?
Baby One More Time.
Me one more time. Yes, you're on form, I think, today. 21st Century. Who duetted on the 2005 number one hit? Is This the Way to Amarillo?
Peter Kay. Was it?
And
and
a duet.
Was it Engelbert Humperdinck?
No, it was not. I think it's the person who sang it originally.
Yeah, I probably can't remember.
Oh dear, Tony Christie. Complete the title of Ultravox's 1984 hit, Dancing with
Tears in My Eyes.
Yeah, so if you slip up there. Initials, which 1997 song by Chumbawamba, it's probably the only Chumbawamba song you could name, has the initial T?
Tub Thumping.
Yeah. And oldies, which group had their first top 10 hit with a cover of Tavares' 1975 song, It Only Takes a Minute?
Take That.
Take That. You got it. See if you can do this card. You slightly slipped. 80s. The 1984 single, What Difference Does It Make, was the debut top 20 hit of which band?
The Smiths.
Yeah. 90s. Which group had their first top 10 hit in 1990 with Step On?
Happy Mondays.
Yes. 21st Century. Which British band had hits like 2006's She Moves in Her Own Way and 2008's Always Where I Need to Be?
Can you say it again, please?
I thought you'd know that first song. Which British band had hits like 2006's She Moves in Her Own Way and 2008's Always Where I Need to Be? I mean, I've never heard of that second one.
Is it an indie band?
Yeah.
Like the Zootons or something?
It's the Kooks.
I don't know much of a band of the Kooks.
She moves in her own way. Oh, this next one's a bit similar, but not quite. The titles. Complete the title of Goldfrapp's first top 10 hit from 2005. Ooh.
La 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 la.
Yeah, see, I was thinking that's a bit, you could have had the Kooks like ooh la. Which 1996 song by Underworld has the initials BS?
Born Slippy.
Born Slippery, Born Slippy, that's it. And oldies, which group took the Bee Gees' 1979 song Tragedy to number one in 1998?
Steps. I mean,
one more.
The 70s. I mean, the 90s is pretty much as old as it's pretty old itself.
Oh, I think you'll get this. 80s, Sex Crime. Need I even continue? 1984 in brackets was a hit for which duo in 1984?
The Eurythmics.
Yeah. 1990. Who wrote Sinead O'Connor's 1990 number one hit? Nothing Compares to You.
Prince.
Yeah, she's been interviewed because she's got I think a book that's coming out. 21st Century. That's Not My Name was a number one hit in 2008 for which British duo?
The Ding Dings.
That's Not My Name. Yeah. Titles. Complete the title of the 1998 hit for Space and Keris Matthews, The Ballad of
Tom Jones, Tom Jones, Tom Jones.
Tom Jones, Tom Jones. Initials. Which 1992 song by Erasure has the initials Tango, Alpha, Charlie, Oscar, Mike? TACOM.
Take a chance on me.
Take a chance on me. And for the point, oldies, which song was a hit for Maria Moldauer in 1974? And Brand New Heavies 20 years later. Oh, I don't know if you know this. Your Brand New Heavies knowledge.
No, I can't.
It's Midnight at the Oasis. Midnight at the Oasis.
Cromitty, how are you? Oh, Paul, I'm fine. Yes, I'm fine. Oh, just enjoying the sun. Yes, I was just saying to the listeners that I don't know, this isn't quite what I imagined. I thought we'd all sort of hang out together, but we all seem to be sitting around different sides of the pond. But oh yes, well, I saw you talking to Martin and to Yeti Uncle John. Yes. Martin has some things going on. I can't say anything at the moment. Oh, he's okay though. Yes, he's fine. It's just family stuff. I'm sure it will resolve itself. Oh yes, of course. Well, I'm glad he's okay. What about Yeti Uncle John? Well, we're talking about his book. Whether he's writing about himself or about the podcast and what he's going to say, the tone of the book. He's not going to tell the world all our secrets. Well, I hope he doesn't, but I guess a lot of our secrets have been on this podcast. Yes, Paul, but you know, I don't trust him. He's an unreliable narrator. He is a bit, isn't he? An unreliable narrator. I also think he tends to exaggerate what his contribution to this show is. So if he does that just for this show, and then he writes about the rest of his life, then goodness knows. Oh, Paul. Yes. Cromitty, can I ask you something? Of course, Paul, always. Are you okay? I'm fine, Paul, yes. Why do you ask? You just seem really sad recently. You seem really sad and you seem really down. I don't know. Is something up? Are you not getting on with August or? No, Paul. I love August. It's Damius after all. Yeah, of course. But so what's up? Well, you know, it's just things, affairs of the heart. Yeah, not yet, Uncle John. It's not all that business with the star, the naming of the stars. He didn't name the star after you, so you didn't name it after him. Oh no, Paul, that was just, you know, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The tip of the so your sadness is about Yeti Uncle John. Kind of. I've been thinking about, you know, I like him very much, but I don't think he'd ever like me in that way. And you know, I'm going for a confusing point in my life. You know, I know Yeti Uncle John is very fluid. That's how he describes it. Yes, but how do you see yourself? I mean, you've been married. I mean, it was a long time ago. Yes, I was married to a vampire, of course. Well, yes, but I don't think she was a vampire. Well, anyway, we don't need to get into this. I was back in the Sutton Park days. But, Could it be that I am non-binary, Paul? Could be, or bisexual, or I don't know. Just going through a change where you're just wanting to experiment. I don't think you need to put a label on any of these things. Certainly not on the Shy Life podcast. Certainly not. The shows that we hang around with. Nobody expects you to make sort of judgments or to sort of pigeonhole you in any particular way. You feel like what you feel about Yeti Uncle John. I mean, I hate to say it about somebody who I'm related to, but you really could do better. Oh, Paul, yes. You wouldn't be the first one who said that. He said that to me just the other day.
Crumpety, I don't know. What is business with Yeti Uncle John? You really could do better. I don't know why you think about him quite so much.
It's what he said. Well, he's right. But you can't help, what the heart wants. Oh, yes. I guess I like a naughty boy. Well, he's definitely that. Cheeky. But I don't know what to suggest. What signs are you getting from him? Are you getting any signs that he did say some nice things about you at that star naming ceremony? Yes, he did, yes. But well, he does keep mentioning Tallulah, and there have been various girls in his life. Yes, but I mean, I hate to say this as well, but when it comes to Tallulah, I think Yeti Uncle John is, well, he likes her cooking. He likes anybody who'll cook. It just happens that a lot of people he knows who cook are ladies. I don't know that there's anything anymore, although I don't get a particularly, I don't really know what vibe I get from Yeti Uncle John. He's very, he can be quite macho, and yet he can also be quite sort of soft. And he even says, it's not like he just say that he is quite fluid in who he likes, and he does mention that he has seen girls and guys. So maybe he's bisexual too, and maybe you both are, or maybe he's not, or maybe I don't know. I mean, I can't really answer you this. You need to talk to him about it, although I know you don't want to. You won't want to bring it to a, crescendo. Oh, Paul, I can't talk to him about it. It feels, too strange. I don't want to spoil our friendship. So you end up having a complete crush on him. A bromance. Yes, perhaps it is just a bromance. Maybe that is all it is. Yeah. But didn't you have, situations where you were like, I don't know, going for having cuddles and things? That sounded lovely. That sounded really nice. Yes, Paul, I think that's where I really sort of fell for him. I think it was quite innocent, and yet particularly, it was quite wonderful. Oh dear, Cromitty, I'm sorry you're going through all this. I'm sorry I can't be more helpful, but I can always be here to talk to you. You must always talk to me, and you and Eek, you're very good to talk to, Paul. But please don't say anything to him. No, I'm sure neither of us would say anything to him. I promise. Thank you, Paul. I need to go and speak to Eek because I've spoken to everybody else, and it's a shame that Bettina and August can be here. Yes, well, they have other things to do. Yes, that's true. Right, I'm going to go and speak to Eek. Why don't you come with me? No, Paul, I'm happy here. It's nice. All right. If you're sure. Yes, Paul, it's fine. Thank you for listening. No, it's my pleasure. Do you want a quiz?
Yeah, go on. Take a chance.
Let's have literature.
Literatura.
I'll say any level of hardness.
Who wrote A Fish Called Pythagoras?
Who wrote A Fish Called Wanda? I have a feeling these are all going to be issues about mixtures. I can see the word Shakespeare more than once, which does not please me. Oh my God, I'm not doing this one. It's just horrible. There's far too many Shakespeare ones. Well, we'll do it. You might hate him. Question 1. Our remedies oft in ourselves lie is a quote from which play? All's well that ends well, Two Gentlemen of Verona, As You Like It, or Hamlet?
Well, I'll go for As You Like It. I can't think they'd give you a quote from one of the first two, because no one's seen them.
This is like the flipping Shakespeare quiz. There must be like half of these must be connected to Shakespeare. Question 2. Widow Capulet appears in which Shakespeare play? All's Well That Ends Well, Coriolanus, Titus Andronicus, or The Taming of the Shrew? The Shrew.
What? No, it's none of them. It's Romeo and Juliet, surely.
I thought it was Romeo and Juliet. Maybe it's...
Are there any others in Verona? Was Two Gentlemen of Verona in there?
No.
No?
That was the previous one. It's Widow Capulet, though. Maybe not Capulet. Thought it was just
Widow Twanky.
Should we say... Got any guess at all?
Taming of the Shrew.
Question 3. What is the name of the King of the Fairies in A Midsummer Night's Dream? Puck, Thisbe,
I was going to say that's...
Bottom, or Oberon?
I was going to say Oberon before you gave the options.
Yeah, Puck and Bottom. Bottom isn't a king for a start. This goes from the sublime to the ridiculous here. Apparently, this is literature. Question 4. British MP Edwina Currie wrote the novel Chasing What?
Chasing. Chasing and hurdling, I'd go for.
Chasing chickens. Question 5.
No options for that.
No. Question 5. The line, "It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done," is from which novel by Charles Dickens?
I was going to say that A Tale of Two Cities. I was going to say.
Another one about Shakespeare. Question 6. Shakespeare wrote a famous poem about Venus and Ares, Adonis, Ariel, or Apollo.
Venus, Apollo fits better, doesn't it? Yeah. I don't know.
Question 7. Who wrote the 1885 novel King Solomon's Mines? Is that Rider?
Oh, that was H. Rider Haggard, yeah.
Couldn't quite remember which way around his name was. Question 8. Who became the youngest... What has this got to do with literature? Who became the youngest winner of FHM's Sexiest Women in the World award in 2006? FHM is not literature.
Blimey.
Who would have been sexy in 2006?
Caprice, something like that, doesn't it?
What about some of those people who are on BBC Two?
What? Carol Vorderman.
I was thinking of, but I think I'm thinking more late 90s rather than 2006.
Eunice Stubbs.
Question 9. Nancy Astley and Kitty Butler are the main characters in which historical novel by Sarah Waters? Now, I am...
she does all the dirty ones, doesn't she?
They're not that dirty. Not that dirty. That's just the Daily Mail thinking.
Tipping the Velvet.
Well, I've read some of her books, and Toby's a big fan. And
I bet.
If he was here, he'd know. It could be Dipping the Velvet. I haven't read that one. Question 10. Who is Proteus' father in The Two Gentlemen of Verona? Speed, Pathino, or Antonio, or Thurlow?
Well, I don't know. I don't know EO.
No. Should we go for the one that isn't ending in O? Speed.
Yeah. See a butterfly. Cabbage white. No, you won't be able to see it. It's over in the
Question 11.
the jungle.
Question 11. Isabella Bella Swan is the lead character in which series of vampire books? Must be Twilight or something.
Yeah, it's got to be, isn't it?
Question 12. Situated in Piccadilly, what is the name of London's oldest bookshop? Piccadilly. In that case, it's not Foyles. It must be the other one. Hatchard's. Must be Hatchard's because that's.
I've never heard of it.
That's in Piccadilly.
Foyles is not Daunt Books, or
no, there is Hatchard's.
Waterstones.
I think Hatchard's has been taken over by someone like Waterstones or Blackwood.
John Menzies.
NSS.
Martin.
Four Boys. Question 13. In A Winter's Tale, Leontes is the king of Rome, Sicilia, Bohemia, or Milan?
Bohemia.
Okay. How many Shakespeare questions we had this? The idea of literature is crazy. The idea of literature is
it's all nonsense.
Stupid nonsense. Question 14. The Joad family are characters in which 1939 by John Steinbeck?
I think it's probably Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah. The only John Steinbeck book I think. Question 15. The One-Eyed Bagman is a storyteller in which novel by Charles Dickens?
Martin Chuzzlewit? I have no idea.
Question 16. Who wrote the 1870 novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea?
Jules Verne.
Yeah. Question 17. I am born. Whether I turn out to be the hero of my own life, whether that station will be held by anybody else, are the opening lines of which Charles Dickens novel? Must be
Twist, probably. Oliver Twist. Great Expectations. You're thinking of?
I was thinking of that one that
Barnaby Rudge.
No, that one that was made recently.
Mystery of Edwin Drood.
No, the one that what's his name?
David Copperfield.
I was thinking David Copperfield, but it could be. I think David Copperfield is very much. I think it's more that sort of book, where it's. Should we go for David Copperfield?
Yeah.
Question 18. Who wrote the novel The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn?
Mark Twain.
Yeah. We've got two more questions, and 100% of them are Shakespeare questions. Question 19. In Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing, who does Beatrice agree to marry in the end? Benedict. Well, unless she decides to marry somebody else. But it's all about Beatrice and Benedict.
I'll go for that then, because I don't know.
I mean, she might change her mind and some character that's only just popped up. But question 20. In which Shakespeare play does Christopher Sly appear? Richard II, Titus Andronicus, Timon of Athens, or The Taming of the Shrew? I mean, I don't even know anything about any of those Shakespeare plays.
No.
Let's say The Taming of the Shrew.
It sounds the most likely one to take place in London.
Show answers. Yeah, basically literature. The literature is Shakespeare, Charles Dickens, and FHM. Okay. Our remedies off in ourselves lie is a quote. Which one did we say? I don't remember which one we said.
Oh God, I can't remember. We had a few quotes, a few characters.
All's well that ends well. Did we say all well that ends well?
Yeah, we did.
Well, it was all's well that ends well. But then question 2, Widow Capulet. I can't remember which one we took of that.
I think that's Taming of the Shrew, I think.
Yeah, it's All's Well That Ends Well again.
Again?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Well, hopefully we said one of those two. What is the name of the King of the Fairies? Oberon is the right answer. Edwina Curry's book is called Chasing Men. We didn't get that one. The Line is a far, far better thing that I do. That was A Tale of Two Cities, which I think...
Yeah, we said that, yeah.
Venus, it was Venus and Adonis, not Apollo, but I would have gone for Apollo. King Solomon's Mines was written by H. Rider Haggard.
Correct.
The sexiest woman in the world in 2006 was Keira Knightley, who's probably completely forgotten now. Nancy Ashley and Kitty Butler were from Tipping the Velvet. So, Proteus's father was Antonio. We said Speed, but only for a stupid reason. So, Isabella Bella Swan is the lead character in Twilight. The bookshop in Piccadilly is Hatchard's.
Oh, well done.
A Winter's Tale, Leontes is the king of Sicilia, not Bohemia. The Joad family are in The Grapes of Wrath. Got that right. The One-Eyed... No, fine. No. The One-Eyed Bagman is a character in the Pickwick Papers. The 1870 novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is Jules Verne. I Am Born, Whether I Turn Out to Be the Hero of My Own Life, blah, 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 is the opening line from David Copperfield. I just thought that Oliver Twist possibly wasn't written in the first place.
Done now, you did say that.
I felt that David Copperfield was like... I've also seen the film, and his character was sort of talking a lot, sort of directly. But then, who knows? Who wrote the novel The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn? That was Mark Twain. In Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing, who does Beatrice agree to marry in the end? It's Benedict. Hooray, got that one right.
Hey.
It's one of the ones we did.
So
well, I know that one because we either did it D or A level. I can't remember which way round it was now. But in which Shakespeare play does Christopher Sly appear? It was Taming of the Shrew. That was a very good guess.
Yeah.
I think we did better than we probably deserved.
I got most of them.
Well, I can't remember if we said It Was Well That Ends Well for one of those first two questions, but we can give ourselves.
I think we did. Well, you'll see it back in the
when I edit it, but
review.
But yeah, so I think we can say we got one out of those two. I don't think we got both of them. We didn't say the same one twice. We got Oberon right. We got Tale of Two Cities. We got H. Rider Haggard. We got Tipping the Velvet. We got Twilight. We got Hatchard. We got Grapes of Wrath. We got Jules Verne. We got David Copperfield. We got Mark Twain. We got Benedict. And we got The Taming of the Shrew. So we actually got 13 out of 20. Well, I think we, in a more fairly balanced literature quiz, where it wasn't 70% Shakespeare, we might, we did pretty well on all the questions that were other than FHM, who ridiculous.
Is that still going, FHM?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Loaded, they got rid of that, didn't they?
Yeah, I thought so.
They want to get loaded.
Hi, Ick. How are you doing?
It's a bit hot for me, Paul.
Is it? Yeah, well, we don't have to stay much longer. I'm not sure. Everyone seems to be doing their own thing. We can all sort of go back. I mean, I think you're right. It's quite muggy.
Yes, Paul. Yes. Maybe we can get the next train.
Yeah, we could get the next train. I don't think there's one for half an hour, but it's going to take us 10 minutes or so to walk back to the station.
Yes, Paul. I have something to tell you.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Well, seems to be a day for it.
Oh, yes. You've been talking to everybody.
I have, yes.
I saw you talking to Cromarty.
I did. He's a bit sad. I think you know what that's about.
Oh, yes. Oh, dear. He's too good for him.
Yes, he's too good for your Uncle John.
Yes, Paul.
So what's your news?
Well, you know, I think you'll be quite surprised.
Come on. I don't think that anything can surprise me these days. I've heard everything this afternoon, and well, you know, I'm quite willing to listen. I'm sure it's not going to surprise me.
But Paul, I think it will.
Come on, Ig. I'm an open-minded chap. What is it you want to say? The listeners are you know, they're open-minded too. They won't be shocked.
Okay, Paul. Okay, listeners. I have some news. Well, I don't know how to say it.
Just say it. Please, just say it.
Okay, Paul. Paul, I'm pregnant.
You're what?
I'm pregnant, Paul. I'm pregnant. Pregnant, I tell you.
Bloody hell.
Hello again, listeners. It's me, Cuthbert the Robot. Goodness, I'm quite surprised about this news. Maybe we'll learn more in a while. Next up, however, we have one last clip for you this episode as Paul and Harry discuss some vague surprising stories from their own lives. It's all go today. Do enjoy! Exclamation.
If you had to look back to, say, the 80s, don't really count because we were too young, we were at school, we didn't have much. But I was going to say, out of we'll include of all the decades you've been in, 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties, 10s and 20s. The 20s aren't much to write home about. Which is the decade that you are most fondly... What do you think about? You know,
I would say easily it would be the 90s, because the 90s was when I just suddenly woke up to music. I can't quite... When did you give me that Shakespeare Sister tape? Was that right at the beginning of the 90s or just before?
Whenever presumably, I don't think I bought their first album until I liked their second single. Until they released Goodbye Cruel World. Yeah. That's the first single.
So I think that brings us back to probably 1991, 92, something like that.
Yeah,
so I got the mixtape, and then suddenly I'm switched on to music, and it wasn't actually just Shakespeare Sister, which was great, but you put lots of other songs on a tape for me, and I also got very, very, very switched on to Britpop.
Yeah.
So I was very much into Pulp and Blur, and then a little bit Oasis. So I'd say that, you know, it's one of those sorts of things that if you'd never had the experience or whatever, or never got switched onto it, you didn't know what you were missing. But then suddenly I found out what I was missing. I think, and so that was a big thing for me, and then of course going to university and having huge amounts of gay sex.
Yeah. Well, the 90s were.
I'm just wondering which bits are going to get edited out.
No, that will stay.
The bit about Graham Linehan, I said, will go.
Yeah.
You could quite easily get rid of the Graham Linehan bit. Although I made it more difficult now by mentioning
this will go as well. This will go as well now.
Really? Graham Linehan.
So the 90s were very good for me. Obviously, Sutton Park was mostly done in the 90s. But my actual favourite decade is the noughties, because I had more money. Yeah. I was most of the time, for 75% of it, I was in my 30s, so I had more money. I started dating people, which I hadn't really done in the 90s.
So more gay sex.
And no, that's staying. Listeners, we've been talking about a few other subjects, and I've cut some bits out, but I'm not cutting that bit out. also there was that era because in the 90s, when I went clubbing with Callum, it was fun going.
Wasn't it?
It was fun going.
You did it with me.
Well, yeah, but yeah. This is what I was going to say. Well, when I did it in the 90s, I was doing it with Callum, and it was local, and the music wasn't that great.
Yeah.
When you and I were doing it in the noughties in London, we were going to places where we could dance to pop, Oasis or Blur or pop,
Yes.
and also got to the stage where we'd bring other people who I can't remember if Nick.
How did that work then? Because wasn't I in Oxford, and then would we take
not
the
by the
Oxford
naughty,
tube?
not by the naughty. Oh, well.
No, you're right. Are you?
Well,
yes.
that might be.
I was in London by 2000.
Yeah, maybe the first
You're
time.
quite right.
Maybe the first times we did Pop Stars in '99.
I remember using
there
the
was a
Oxford
time.
tube with you.
So yeah, we did do it the first few times we went out in London, but mainly it was the noughties that we were doing that.
And it was Pop Stars and Wig Out.
Yeah, all those, mainly those two, and then as time went on, I started doing my book launches, and we'd go. I'd go to Ursus and Vauxhall Tavern.
Did you ever go to Bulk or not?
I might have gone with you if you took me.
Yeah. We did it.
We went to some weird place in. Do you remember that there was that? I think it was the time when.
Claremont Road.
We don't live around here, so I don't.
No, sorry. Yes. That's the right answer.
We went to that. We've just been asked for some directions. No, we don't have to cut her out.
Oh, I see. You can keep her in, but not Graham Linehan.
She doesn't have controversial.
Graham Linehan has to stay.
We're not having a conversation about Graham in this episode.
Okay.
We can do a separate episode if you want.
Oh, right. Okay.
Do a separate controversial episode. We'd make a good episode. We could do things that are controversial, or do we agree with them? I'll keep this bit in. But
what were you saying before about noughties and pop stars?
Well, yeah, when we would. I remember we went to this club that was under the arches in Vauxhall. Do you remember that time? That might have been. It was the time when I'd had a falling out, which wasn't my fault, with some online friends, and Luke was there, and I think me and Luke went to this club.
I'm sure that must have been. I might be wrong actually, but
that was the time.
So many.
That was the time when I met that weird guy, Phil.
It must have
Cocaine
been
Phil.
Yes, Cocaine Phil.
That's a story for another time.
I don't know if we called him Cocaine Phil. I think
no, he probably didn't.
Dodgy, wasn't it?
Dodgy Phil. But he was.
It was something like that.
He didn't. But he didn't unearth.
He was very good looking.
He didn't reveal the fact that he took cocaine that first time. He was perfectly normal. It was when I met up for him around Valentine's, and he spent all the money he had on cocaine, and then anyway, let's have to cut this bit out.
That's a shame, because that's quite. I mean, he was. What I would say is that he was very, very good looking, and actually, he was quite funny. He was quite interesting person.
Yeah, he was.
But it's just that he was druggy Phil.
Druggy Phil.
Not dodgy Phil. Druggy Phil.
Yeah. Well, that was the time where.
I bet that was Bulk, because I suspect he was a chubby chaser, and that's why he went for you.
He drove me home that first time.
Oh, lovely! And car.
And then. We met. Do you remember? Well, that's the time I nearly died. The next time, but he came down for Valentine's, and we all went and had a meal in Balance in Old Compton Street.
You remember me so much better.
It was not for a lot of things, but well, I only remember because I nearly died this time. And we had fish and chips, and I got a fish bone stuck down my throat.
That sounds familiar.
But I didn't tell anyone. I just said, just going to the loo, and if things had gone badly, maybe I would have passed out and died. But luckily, I kind of burped and it popped out. But I did kind of think afterwards. Probably I shouldn't have said. I shouldn't have been polite and just excused myself. I probably should have said, "Oh, I think I've got a bone stuck." But then, who wants to have the Heimlich remover in front of the whole of the restaurant?
Well, absolutely. You were one burp from death.
One burp. One burp from death. That's the title of my autobiography. Yeah, that's it.
I really like Balance, and unfortunately they've
been back.
they've changed it all round. It became Balance Clubhouse. They might even have closed down, but I think it's now Balance Clubhouse, and the menu is just really not where it was. The whole ambience is just completely different.
It was a sort of. I don't think I ever went in the evening. I always went lunchtime. It was sort of a brunch crowd when we used to go.
I really, really.
Oh, that's right. The other thing about that time the one burp from death thing was that I went down to burp up a fishbone, and whilst I was down there, Druggy Phil, who the night before we'd gone to a bar, just he and I, and he vanished round the back, and I wasn't quite sure what he was doing. And he'd gone and bought some cocaine.
No.
But it just looked like washing up tablets. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. The thing is, it was at the time when I didn't have much money at the end of the month.
Right.
But actually, if that was the 14th, I don't know why I didn't have much money, but I didn't have much money. Or I had budgeted for that weekend.
Yeah.
And so I was very... because it's not my scene at all, but rather than flip out, I sort of said, well, that's fine. The only thing I'll say is that I don't think he had, for whatever reason, he only had a certain amount of money, and he spent most of it on drugs.
Yes.
And I just said, well, okay, so I did have £100. Now we have got £50. We have got £50 each or whatever. So we have to live within that, because I can't get any more money.
No.
So I was very calm about it and just said, so we were able, obviously, still to go to Balance, but I was paying rather than him paying as well.
Oh, wow, yeah.
But anyway, so I went...
That was pretty expensive back then.
Well, yeah. I went down to cough up a fishbone, and meanwhile, he was telling the whole table, which was you and Steve from Oxford and people like that. And I came up and he just told them that, how good I was that I bailed you out, because he'd spent all this money on cocaine, which obviously none of us were into drugs, not even weed at the time. And so it wasn't the sort of conversation that you had with this group of people, but he didn't know us.
No, exactly.
He didn't know you.
And I remember actually there was one occasion when he was going to do it in your home, and you said, no, I'm not going to have it.
Yeah, well, I don't think the only other time I saw him was in an adult swimming area, being molested by a load of old men, but elderly gentlemen. So, and I still had his phone. This was a few months later, and I still had his phone number, and I texted him and said, "Nice to see you having fun," because because at the time, that weekend, he'd said that he was going to. Pay me back for the money.
Oh, really?
And that never happened, because I never saw him again. So I took that as my £50.
Right.
Seeing him in that situation made me think.
That's the payment, yeah. No, to be honest, I mean, it was only a very brief set of interactions with Druggy Phil, but I've got to say, he was very, very good looking. And he was just really interesting and quite bright. And it's such a shame that he was on drugs. It's such a shame.
I don't really know what happened to him.
And he would have had a car. He could have driven you around everywhere.
Yeah, on the surface he seemed quite nice. But
yeah.
Because generally I've had long-term... That must have been around the time I was 30, because it was around that time I had some boyfriends, but I tended to go from one to another. But there was a period when I was around 30 that I had sort of friends with benefits, or I had like you were
a slut. You were a slut.
But I knew I was kind of hoping that one of those people would turn into a boyfriend, and it didn't really happen. So yes, the Naughties was fun, because I was doing lots of things and had more money, and also the Naughties was also very good, because I was travelling over that, because in the 90s, when it was my birthday, I used to go away, usually in the UK. Went to Hastings to see friends, or went to so-and-so. But then when I went to America in 2000, I went to New York and I went to Vegas with Nick, and that after that kicked me off into overseas holidays. So all of my overseas travelling, majority of my overseas travelling, I did do some in the tents, but some of the best ones were in the Naughties. And when I went out with Neff, Dr. Neff, Charlie Gurr's friend, we were going to the stage where we would go away. We were at the stage where we'd go away at weekends. Even we went to Stockholm for the weekend, or we went to. I think we were in Stockholm for like 36 hours or something. But it was Neff who got me into going to Venice, which started off my love affair with Venice. So I have a lot to thank him for our trips. And I just did a lot of travel, and so as a whole, my job was relatively. I was pretty much in the same job for most of the noughties. And I used to like my boss.
I think it's getting switched on to these new experiences that maybe you didn't have in your 20s, and I didn't have in my 20s, and then suddenly you're getting all of these. So it might be for me. It was like music and having boyfriends and whatever. Similarly for you, having boyfriends, but also travelling and so on.
But also, I've been into music, and also, the late 80s was good because I kind of Doctor Who led to meeting new people when I had all my pen friends. But I used to sit in lessons in the 6th year writing to my pen friends when Mr. Higson, the history teacher, was just talking about nothing.
There were probably good bits of good and bad in each decade, but I think probably the 80s were the toughest one of the lot. And it seems to have got a little bit easier each time because you get a little bit more money earning, and you get a little bit more free.
I don't know. I had lots of hiccups in the 10s, so they weren't so good. But obviously, the podcast was one of those good things,
of course.
But anyway, I hope we have many more years of doing the podcast. I mean, you only have to do it sometimes. I'm doing it I'm doing it all the fucking time.
And having to edit out all the Graham Linehan references.
Yes. Yeah. But obviously, if I didn't like doing it, then I wouldn't be doing it. No. I love you, listeners. Well, I'd be doing it if you weren't here, to be honest.
I love you, Paul.
Oh, I love you, Harry.
And
we can still do our acting. It's like South Park all over again. Well, listeners, that's about all we've got time for. Gosh, yes, we have. We did sort of. Sorry, I'm a bit speechless. I said I wouldn't be speechless, and yet I am speechless. Not about Cromarty and his bromance, not about Iddy Uncle John and his biography or autobiography, whatever. Not at Martin and looking for his real parents. But Ick, pregnant. I didn't see that coming. I really didn't. I don't even know how it happened. I don't even know how it happens with Ick. Well, anyway, I'm sure we'll find all about that. It's not happening today. It's very difficult to. It doesn't look pregnant in the way that we would recognise, but I don't know how. There's so many questions. So many questions, and I'm sure we'll answer them eventually. Anyway, listeners, thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and not only our chats, but the extra material that was edited in and on the way. And we've got plenty of episodes in the can, so we'll be back again soon. So you take care, and all right. Wow, ick, pregnant. Gosh. Anyway, okay, right. Bye-bye for now. Bye-bye. Paul, are you okay? What? Oh yes, I'm fine. Sorry, I was just doing the end of the episode goodbye thing. Yes, Paul, but you look very distracted. I am quite distracted. Yes. You talked to all of us this episode, and yet we did not talk to you. Is there anything you need to speak about? No, I don't think I've got any. Well, I mean, there's something I've learnt today that I'm not sure I can share with you. Oh, okay. Is it something Yeti Uncle John said to you? No, it was nothing to do with Yeti Uncle John. It's nothing to do with you and him or anything. Oh, okay. What's going on, Paul? What's wrong with him? I think he's a little bit. Maybe he got a little bit of sun. I did get a little bit of sun. Yes, but all this listening to people's problems. Sometimes you can only take so much in. Yeah, well, I'll note that down for my book. Please, do you have to? Oh, yeah, I'm going to be making notes, I tell you. I bet you are.
What's up, Paul? You look a bit weird.
Oh, no, it's nothing. I just, was just talking to the others were saying the same, and I can't say anything.
Yes, you can, Paul.
What? Ick? What's going on? Is this to do with Ick? Oh, what's going on, Ick? Paul is confused.
Yeah. What's happened, Ick?
Oh dear. I wasn't going to tell everybody, but I think Paul has been taken aback. So I might as well tell you all.
All right. What's going on?
It's nothing. I'm pregnant. That's all. Pregnant.
Oh my goodness. Ick, congratulations. That's congratulations.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yes, it is wonderful. I just want to know more about what happened, how it happens, what you need us to do.
Oh dear. Here comes the theme music. I'll explain in a minute.
Oh yes, please. I think perhaps you should. Dear.
I gotta go now. Bye. Gotta go. Bye.
Goodbye.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
Oh dear, what's going on now? Oh, it's the Shy Life podcast. Let's go.
I have a voice. I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice. We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net.
Hi, I'm Isaac.
And I'm Declan.
And together we're here to tell you about a brand new podcast from Shame City called Big Bad Books, coming soon to some ears near you.
As two underpaid and unfulfilled English lit graduates, we've been noticing a worrying trend.
Super worrying.
Yeah, in the amount of just very bad writing which has been allowed through our front doors,
onto our bookshelves,
and into our hearts and minds.
And my Kindle.
Oh,
sucks.
No.
So we decided it was about time that someone took a stand and called this stuff out.
So every other week we'll be reading a chapter of one of the very worst books available to people right now.
And then tearing it to pieces, metaphorically.
And physically.
Possibly.
Burning them. But not without maybe, just maybe, learning a couple of lessons and making a few friends along the way. Our first season is on a real classic of the genre. It's going to be Ernest Cline's Ready Player 2.
Episodes will be out every other Sunday, and they're available in literally everywhere you can get podcasts.
And you can always head to shame.city/books if you get lost.
That's right, Declan.
Anyway, like we always say on Big Bad Books,
if you can't read them,
read them. No.
Big Bad Books.
We read them so you don't have to.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, you can ask me a question. What do you need to know?
Well, I guess I wanted to know, well, when did it happen? How long have you known? Who is the father? Or, you know,
Oh dear, he's fine. It doesn't work like that on our planet. But I've only just found out. But, no, we don't have babies in quite the same way. We don't have two partners. It just happens, you know, when you get to a certain age.
Oh, right, yes.
Do you remember when Nick Goodman was talking about how he thought people gave birth when he was a child? It just happens at a certain time.
Yes, I remember that.
Yes, well, on our planet, that is how it happens.
Oh, right, but you're not on your planet.
No, but I have been up in space, and, well, it's a shock to me as well.
Oh, right. I see. So, when you say it's a shock to you, I don't understand.
Well, you know, when I first arrived on Earth, it was probably around the time that change usually happens. But, I thought that living on Earth maybe had stopped it happening.
Oh, okay. But it hasn't. It's just slowed things down.
Yes. So, I will be having a baby. Or something.
Or something? I don't want to be disrespectful, but will it just be one, or many, or what?
I need to find out.
Oh, you need to find out? You mean there's some debate over what the end product might be?
Yes, Paul. Yes, definitely.
And how long will it happen? It's not going to happen by the end of the episode.
No, you can't go done not that quickly.
Well, I'm glad. I'm sure we all have a lot more questions, but I guess what we really want to ask is there anything we can do?
Oh, well, a cup of tea might be nice.
All right, a cup of tea. I'll put the kettle on. Oh, I'll go and get the biscuits. You can still eat biscuits, Ick.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And I'll sit here and pat you gently on the shoulder, reassuringly, supportively.
Oh, thank you, Martin. Thank you.
Right, well, one way or another, we're here to help you. We'll do whatever you need us to. And, gosh, a Charlotte podcast baby.
Could be babies, Paul. I'll have to find out.
Gosh, babies. Anyway, listeners, that's what we've got time for. Gosh, I'm going to be a dad. Well, not me, but well, kind of.
An uncle, Paul.
An uncle, yes. We're all going to be uncles and stuff. Can we tell August Evans and Bettina? Can we tell everybody?
Yes. Tell everybody. Oh gosh. Oh dear. Kind of exciting.
It is a bit, yes. It is a bit. A little bit nerve-wracking too. But yeah, exciting. Oh dear.
If that slime ball alien ick lays a slimy tentacle on me, I'm gonna have a fit. That's what. Yeah.
Hey, you want to know something? Really, Paul? The Shy Yeti? He's really quite a musicologist. No, really. Boy, I hope Nick Goodman is on this episode.
Anyway, we are running out of time, and I hope that you'll join us again soon. And just remember, next time you go out for a picnic, don't expect it to be restful or relaxing. You never know what you might find. Okie.
Alright. I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Goodbye. Bye.